Hello, somebodies. Mr. Mafuchi here, and stuff happened while you were living your life. Like what? Well, let's get into it. Kids rob a bank. In Houston, Texas, a throuple of kids, known as the Little Rascals, apparently went into a bank, approached the teller, and passed a threatening note. Now, along with that note, claiming that they wanted the money. Not only that, apparently, the kids were armed, but they did not showcase their firearm. Now, believe it or not, the kids made out with some money. Once they took the money, they fled the scene, of course. Now, to everyone's shock, hearing that kids just robbed the bank, they still have no choice but to post photos of these kids to the public in the news. And as it turns out, parents turned in two of their kids. The third one was still at large for a while, but still caught on the same day. Now, you may ask, what happens to kids when they break the law? Well, they're still minors at ages 16, 12, and 11. So the worst that could happen is to a 16-year-old that may be tried as an adult, but it's highly unlikely. So as of right now, it seems that they get a slap on the wrist and they just made bail. Now, funny because kids made bail. Nonetheless, it seems the way this is going to go is that the kids will get probation until they're 18. But just think about that, somebodies. Essentially, the best time to commit crime is when you're a minor because you're not really going to face harsh consequences. Now, I am not advocating for any crimes for minors, but as it stands right now, if you're gonna do dumb stuff that breaks the law, do it when you're a kid. A dad takes the wrong newborn baby from the hospital. Let's go across the pond to England, where a couple had just given birth to a newborn baby. Aww. Now, there was a bit of a hiccup though, as the newborn did have a mild infection. Therefore, they had to place a newborn in NICU for 8 days. Now, the dad is the kind of person that stresses out pretty easily. It's already stressful knowing you're gonna welcome in a baby, but now your baby is sick and you gotta wait to take it home. Well, after the 8 days pass, baby finally got a green light and is able to be discharged and be on their way. So on that day, dad and girlfriend arrive. Girlfriend goes into another room to sign the paperwork, and dad's job is to retrieve the baby. It's a bonus job, right? Well, he goes into the room, picks up his daughter, and places her in the car seat. Everything is hunky-dory until Grandma shows up. Grandma takes a look at the baby and seems a little puzzled and lets her son know something's not right here. Now, dad has no idea what grandma means. And he just says, no, she just looks a little different because the last time you saw her, she was in an incubator. It's all good. Well, it's time to find out if things are really good as mom comes out, takes a look at the baby, and just turns white. She knows right away, this is not our baby. So the couple rush back into the hospital with daughter in hand, and they let the hospital know, hey, this isn't our baby. At the same time, there's another couple running around because they're freaked out because their baby was taken. So somebody's, you're asking, how could this happen? Well, here we go. Dad, number one, apparently went into the wrong room. But to his defense, he claimed that the room was identical to the other room where his daughter really was in. Secondly, both babies were dressed the same in their hospital attire. And number three, to top it all off, dad claims that they look very similar. So he thought nothing of it. Now, somebody's, let's take a deeper dive into this scenario in a segment I like to call Guilty or Spared. So we have the facts. Dad went into the wrong room. Daughter was dressed the same as his real daughter, and they look similar. Now, at the same time, the number one thing, dad is the number one culprit. He just placed all of us good dad in a bad light. Hence why Mother's Day is hailed about 100 times more than Father's Day. But again, human error occurs on a daily. So now let's look at the protocols of the hospital. How can this happen? How can anybody take a baby out of the hospital and nobody notices? Let alone there's no checks or balances before a couple with a baby heads out the door. Now, I'm not necessarily claiming that the hospital is fully responsible, but at the same time, how did this baby leave with the wrong person, with the wrong couple, with the wrong parents? Unfortunately, it just begs the question, how many times has this happened prior but not been reported? So somebody's in this situation, I get it. Dad made a few mistakes along the way to pick up his daughter, but at the same time, the hospital had no checks and balances to make sure something like this, number one, could not happen. Number two, that a stranger could just not go into a baby's room. And number three, let alone the most important part, head out the hospital. So in this situation, dad is spared. Cage doors are placed in front of the bathroom. In Longford, UK, the Foxford Community School, which is a secondary school, grades 7 through 11, has made it its mission to make sure that the students do not use the bathroom during class time. They have noticed that the students use the bathroom as a revolving door to get out of class and just stay out a little too long for the bathroom use. So the school, looking to crack down on this situation, has finally said, okay, that's enough. We're going to put these cage doors. That way you know we mean business. And you're going to stay in class. You're going to learn. Now, prior to the cage door, the school used to just lock the bathroom. So when are the kids allowed to use the bathrooms? only during break time, before or after school. Now, the school scoffs at the fact that they're cage doors. No, they're just metal doors placed in front of the bathroom so no kids can get in there. So now this brings up the question, what if kids absolutely need to go while in class? Kids either have weak or full bladders. What if for women, they are shedding their uterine lining and they need to get out of there? Otherwise, there's going to be a big mess. Well, here at the Foxford Community School, there are no exceptions. So you go ahead and make a mess in class and clean it up and then go to the bathroom. Turns out even one teacher was only allowing the kids to go to the bathroom 3 times a month, even allotting tickets to be used. And guess what? If you step out of the class for any reason, your ticket is taken and used up. And if you're trying to be smart and thinking, hey, roll it over, nope. They do not roll over, so students are left with no choice but to hold it in. A mom is arrested for leaving a gun in her kid's lunchbox. In Palm Beach, Florida, a child goes into daycare, turned in her lunchbox so the teacher can inspect it. Well, upon inspection, she sees a big gun and screams, "Gun!" Now, more staff members come in and they surround the lunchbox and they check it and realize, oh snap, this is real. So they call the police and they call the mom, Sinead Davis, let them know, hey, you need to get over here right now. The mom shows up. Oh, I usually put the gun in the lunchbox because I don't use a purse. Generally, I will leave the gun in the glove compartment, but there have been a rash of break-ins to where I am no longer able to do so. Therefore, I put it in the lunchbox, take it out before my child goes to daycare. But hey, I forgot. So, with all that said and done, the school did not want to press charges. They just want to make sure everyone was safe. That wasn't the same for police officers, as they arrested Sinead Davis for child neglect and allowing a minor to bring a gun to school. An 11-year-old was arrested for stealing a caravan. In Yorkshire, England, reports came in to the police officer that a BMW SUV hooked on to a caravan and took off. Now, 45 minutes after the report, the police did spot the BMW and the caravan, so they pulled them over. But the police were not prepared to see who was behind the wheel, as it was an 11-year-old boy. Not only that, it turned out upon further inspection, the child had equipment for car theft and had many false vehicle registrations around. So at 11 years old, this kid's a pro. He knows exactly what he wanted to do with his life. So the boy was arrested, questioned, and then released on conditional bail. Now again, this just goes to show, if you're going to commit crimes, do it when you're a minor. He was released. I just want to know how tall this kid was that he could drive. Did he have foot pegs? Did he have books to sit on? Did he jimmy rig that vehicle? Who knows? Let me just say this. If at 11 years old, you're able to drive pretty decently, then chances are you're going to be a good driver when you grow up. But at the same time, what are you going to be using your driving skills for? A student tricked his friend to get his legs amputated. In Taiwan, a man named Zhang had a friend named Liao. Now, Liao, unfortunately, suffered losses with cryptocurrency, so he needed a way out. So this guy right here turned to his friend Zhang and tricked him into signing a legal note, and now Zhang owed Liao $800,000. Not only that, Liao put the pressure on and told Zhang, hey, this legal note, there's gonna be gangsters after you, so you best pay up. So at this point, Zhang is freaked out, but not to worry, they both came up with a plan. So Liao tells Zhang, hey, let's do this. Let's have your legs amputated and collect some money. So let's get into the specifics here. The goal here is for Zhang to place his feet in dry ice for 10 hours. That way he can incur frostbite. But again, where did this money come from? Well, here we go. Prior to the dry ice, Zhang purchased life, traveler, and accidental insurance that would pay out a total of $1.3 million. So with the insurance under his belt, Zhang did place his feet in dry ice for 10 hours. Then afterwards, both of them took a joyride at night around Taipei. That way, for them, it seemed plausible that Zhang did develop frostbite at night. After the joyride, Zhang was admitted to the hospital and he was treated. But during this time, the nurses just looked around and said, something doesn't look right here. Number one, the natural progression of frostbite here is not correct, as both feet are equally frostbitten. And number two, that joyride at night, it was only 42 degrees Fahrenheit, essentially not cold enough to develop frostbite. Nonetheless, Zhang's legs were amputated from the calf down. Now, unfortunately for the two friends, there was a police investigation, and it did not take the police that long to put two and two together, as they found the bucket where they put the dry ice in, not to mention all the insurance documents. Although one insurance company did pay out $7,200, but that money was seized immediately. So at the end of the day, both were charged with fraud and aiding and abetting a serious injury. Let me just say, I just don't understand. I don't think there's an amount of money for me, even if it fully comes to fruition, that I get the money, that there's any scenario where I would amputate my body deliberately. A 12-year-old is served an alcoholic beverage at Outback Steakhouse In Livonia, Michigan, a grandma takes her grandson to dinner where they usually go, Outback Steakhouse. And as always, the preteen orders his favorite drink, a virgin strawberry daiquiri. Pretty sure we all know where this is going. So his drink arrives, he takes a big sip, but turns out there's something different about this drink this time around. It tastes a little funny, a little weird. Now grandma takes a drink, and she also notices it doesn't taste like normal. At the same time, neither one of them are drinkers, so they can't quite place their finger on it. Grandma flags the server, let them know, hey, there's something going on with this drink. It doesn't taste right. Server takes it to the bartender, and he confirms what we probably all know. It is not a virgin drink. There's rum in there. How did this happen? Well, it turns out the ticket that it was written on did not specify virgin strawberry daiquiri. It only read strawberry daiquiri. Now, at this point, the kid's head was hurting, and he said his heart was racing. Now, the establishment, shocked and appalled at this point, number one, comped their meal, but it's too little too late, as the kid really was feeling bad. So he was immediately taken to the hospital. Well, the hospital treated him and sent him along his way with Tylenol and let him know, hey, just rest. Well, unfortunately for the preteen, he woke up with a hangover. Now, Outback Steakhouse corporate does not take this lightly, as they apologize profusely and let everyone know that at this establishment they have been disciplined, reprimanded, and retrained, so hopefully this does not happen again. So hey, parents or grandparents, maybe leave the kid to just soda or water. A man was dismissed at a job interview for failing a trick test. Now, we've all been there before. We arrive at the establishment, we're just prepared, we have so many things racing in our head about the job interview that sometimes we could just be unattentive when it's necessary. As the man approached the receptionist to check in, he wasn't exactly polite. So when he went to sit down and fill out the necessary paperwork, unfortunately, he already made his first impression, as on that day, the receptionist happened to also be the hiring manager. So with this knowledge on hand, the person that performed the job interview, not the hiring manager, let the applicant know that at this office, we are all about being nice, polite, and courteous to everyone. Unfortunately, it's come to my attention that you were not at your best with the receptionist who turned out to be the hiring manager. Therefore, the interview is over. Good day to you, sir.